Oh, thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
You look good. You look good.
Thank you so much.
You have taken the road less traveled. And by that, I mean taking a gap year, something that, well, a lot of students are usually scared to, right? And you did it, you went ahead and took a gap year. How has that experience been like for you?
Um, I love it. So I started off it was terrible when I started off. Because at first it was like a dream that had like crashed in front of my eyes, right? In this, when you're at ALA, you already have goals, you already see yourself somewhere, you already are imagining the college that you want to be in. And I had also done that part of applying to a college that I really loved. I'd gotten in. Then suddenly everything just dropped in front of my face, like literally 2 weeks before when I was supposed to travel. So I had to defer to the other year because it was like, oh, you need to collect these documents because your parents don't have, this or that. So I needed to redo the process again, which was last year, basically. So it was tough at first because I felt like it was just like, dreams literally crashing right in front of my eyes, especially when you're like a young girl and you got all these dreams in your head and then you went to ALA, everything was so smooth and then like everything just falls apart, you know what I'm saying? And then your peers or like the people that you're like learning with, they are proceeding, it was horrible. I had a really difficult time mentally. I was not okay. Um, I shattered, like, the Tamia that you know from campus, the one who's bubbly and everything. I lost all of that. So it was life changing. So my gap years will have like been a moment for me to like grow and to forgive myself as well, to like commend myself for like that I've done enough. It wasn't my fault and everything would be fine. So yeah.
I mean, and I like how you managed to change your mindset over the years, right? Because most of the times, we focus a lot on what we can control and then also focus a lot on what we can't control, right? So I think it's good that you realize, you know what, you're done your part, you're done what you needed to do, and then the rest that you can't control, well, you leave it to fate.
Yeah, but you see, that's the other problem is that at that time when things fell apart, I didn't see like any light at all. At all. Like there was no light. That was it for me. Coming from a family where I don't have a father and my mother is not employed, and I've been raised by relatives. So it was when that happened for me, not only was I angry, but I did not see light at all. Like for me, that was like, that's the end because what next? Right? Like what's going to happen now? So it was, I'm not going to lie, for me to get to that moment of like opening up and saying, it's okay, you'll be fine. It was tough. It was really, really hard. So yeah. Mhm.
How did you manage to get through that time?
Um, that is such a good question. Because I don't know. I honestly really don't know, but I think one of the things that I'm very appreciative of is that like I'm I've never like given up in like anything. Like if I want something, like I go for it, even if it means me waiting. Yeah, then secondly was the support that I had from like friends, even though they did not know that they were helping me out. I'm not one to speak of my failures. And so when I had people who actually didn't look down upon me because I didn't make it to the stage or to this level, it was just like, okay, I'm good. I can do this, and the constantly hoping for a better tomorrow and knowing that you're not alone, that helped quite a lot. Yeah.
And I think we can agree to the fact that the experiences that you first felt when you realized that you're going to have to take a gap year is the experience that most individuals who graduate from high school face. And
Yeah.
now that you have lived through gap year, has your experience changed of what a gap year really means and, what could one achieve during that time?
Yeah. Like I'm so happy because what I didn't realize is like, when you're at ALA, it's like we are all in like a pattern, like this is how everything's supposed to go, right? For me, I didn't know I needed a lot of growth to like strengthen myself as a young someone who's like a very business minded, like entrepreneurial. Um, I needed a lot of growth even after ALA. Um, and I'm talking about in like my character as a person, as someone who's very sensitive, or someone who's so easily like impacted by her surroundings, or so that for me, like going through those years, I literally learned to grow up, to like grow up, like knowing that this is literally all I have. Like if I mess this up, then literally I'm gonna be messed up. So um I think that's something that really like I grew up in. I didn't know that I needed that. And working with ALA MAU, seeing myself grow in areas that I didn't even know I would. Like I'm talking time management, I'm talking being able to talk to people properly, um, being able to recognize my blind spots as well. I think that was like my gap years were also that time for me to like reflect on where am I lacking, right? Where do I need to build myself, So I, even though I was angry at first, I'm absolutely like happy and proud of myself right now, because it was like you don't know the value of something until like you're not like after that you're like, wait, hold up, I just literally made this conference that hadn't happened in like 3 years possible. Like Slay, you know how they would say at ALA, yes,
Which
queen.
is amazing.
Yeah.
No, and I like how your perception has changed really, because as how you said, most of the times we know, you're from school and then you go to, I don't know, whatever, I don't know if you're in secondary school and then you go to ALA, which is high school, and then you go to college, and you really don't get time to sit back and reflect who you are, how you have
Exactly.
grown, the skills that you have acquired over the years, and what are some of the things that you want to learn. And so gap years provide opportunities for individuals to really reflect, I mean, to reflect on their journey and what they really want to do. And at some point, it's so crazy because people end up even changing courses and doing something else.
OMG, I love that. I love how you brought that. So, actually, an interesting thing that happened is like, so when I came to ALA, my passion was always like supporting orphans, especially because I'm that, right? I lost my dad and I didn't have a breadwinner. So I was taken in by family members that felt that I had potential, right? But there are so many people, like there's so many ladies like myself who do not get that opportunity, right? So when things go down, like that's it for them. So I've always noticed that, like I'm very lucky, and I was always very grateful for like the fact that there was good that happened in my life. So when I went into ALA, my need, like I was all like orphaned girls in Zimbabwe, and then ALA happened, then my gap year, and then immediately my passions, not that they changed, but I tapped into my passion, but looked at it in a different angle. In a sense that I looked at myself and I looked at mental health and how many other often girls also go through things like mentally. It's not only about school fees or you need to pay for their school fees, they need a roof under them or whatever, but mental health, like why do we still get so many um children at children's homes who end up doing drugs or committing suicide? Is because of mental health. And it is a challenge. Like, even if you pay for someone to go to school, as long as they're not okay mentally, they will not perform well at all. So I'm appreciative of, like you just mentioned, like I'm appreciative of the fact that I got a chance to build on my passions, to say, okay, I'm not going to look at it in this way, but I'm going to look at it in a mental health perspective, because that is also what I went through. So now it's stronger. It's a lot of fire inside of me. Yeah.
And I mean, I can't imagine how that will feel if you were to realize that only after you had graduated from college, because that is what happens to most kids.
Yeah.
You go to college, the moment you graduate, you're like, you know what, I actually wanted to do something else, right? And so it's good that you're also getting an experience out there, and you're also doing some great stuff, right? I mean, you're pulling together ALA MAU, which hasn't been happening for like what, 3 years due to COVID, and
Yes.
so that is fascinating.
It went really well, by the way. It went really well. And I just want to say that early MAU also had me like focusing on the problems that I also had like noticed in the community. So, early MAU, there are a lot of children who come from high schools that are pretty rich, or like the students there are nice, great debaters, great public speakers. But this year actually we had students that were coming from South Africa, from Deep Sloot is an area here in South Africa which is considered underprivileged, or like it's underdeveloped, or
A township.
um, exactly, a township, like very high density place. So we never had students like those because it was new, because usually people go to MAUR, they have experience with the MUN and they can speak, they've won these many awards, like they know what they're doing basically. But when I saw like the students from Deep Sloot, it connected to me at a very personal level, because it was just like I saw myself in one of the students, like just one of the students there. So I was walking past and she said, just like she was talking to one of her friends, and she was like, oh, I feel like a mini diplomat, right? And then I looked at her, and because like when you're already organizing something, you start to know, okay, this kid comes from which school, right? So I looked at her and I was just like, so, like there was so much, like I felt really warm in my heart to say, I see myself in this girl. I would have loved an opportunity like this for me to build my self-confidence, so that so that I won't doubt myself if I'm enough, like, have I done enough in life? Am I going to go anywhere in life? So seeing those students come into the conference and become better versions of themselves, um, to me, that felt really close to my heart. And that's when I saw that, okay, I might not have noticed it, but what we're doing here as ALA MAU is such a huge, like, life-changing, like, it's a life-changing experience to so many students. So yeah, that really like speaks to me. Like that experience just like spoke to me in so many ways. Yeah.
And the fact that you're also working with kids is good, because they remind us of who we were when we were kids, right? And some of the dreams that we had. And the moment you grow up, you're like, you know what? It's not possible. I was just a kid. But then, when you're around them, they remind you that, you know what? It's still possible, right? You can still dream and go
Ex-
big
Exactly.
and
And
conquer it. Yes.
And you see, like with the students that we had, they already like matric level. And already when you are like at matric level, you're expected to go to university the next year, right? And some of these students are coming from backgrounds where they don't even envision themselves going to university, right? So I literally did see myself in that place where I looked at myself and I was like, wow, like I was one of those kids at primary school where I hid behind public speaking and debating, but inside of me, I always felt like I was never enough. And I found so much pleasure in like getting awards in public speaking competitions and speech writing competitions and debating competitions. And that's how I built my self-confidence for me to actually start believing that, you know what, I might actually get into ALA even though it's got like a 5% acceptance rate. So ALA MAU for me, it felt like it was a push to some of these students who are still dreaming, you know. So yeah.
And now you're also organizing GSP, Global Scholars Program.
Yes, yes, yes.
No, that is super cool. And I think if there's anything that someone listening to this should take away is that taking a gap year provides you an opportunity to explore, right? What are some of the things that you like doing? What are some of the things that you enjoy doing or you'd want to do? And then from there, you can now reflect on, you know what? I thought I liked this, but I really don't, right? And then now grow and explore other things. Yeah, I mean, because most of the times you might go like, you know what? I really want to work in, I don't know, banking, right? And the moment you graduate, you go into banking 6 months, 1 year, 2 years down the line, you're like, dang, do I really want to do this?
What have we been doing? Like, what is this? Like for me, I started off like saying, oh, I want to be a lawyer. The next thing I wanted to, do journalism. Journalism was something that I really wanted to do when I was at ALA. But my gap years literally showed me that I don't need to be a journalist for me to write. And I'm using my communication skills. So now I want to do strategic communications, which is all under marketing. So it was just like it all blended in. And like I don't want to say, but like it all works out at the end. Like wherever your journey, wherever you're supposed to go, you will do that, just like in different ways. For me, it took me 2 years to realize that no, you know what, I actually need to do strategic communication. And that is where I'm at. My creativity is there. I can be an orator there. I can write. So yeah,
Yeah, no, it's like imagine if you had gone to study journalism, right?
exactly.
You'd have missed out
Exactly.
big time.
You know what I'm saying? So I'm really, honestly, if there's anyone who ends up taking a gap year, whether planned or unplanned, um, people should know that everything happens for a reason. It sounds cliche. It sounds very cliche, but trust me, it's literally like the best thing that you can do for yourself if you're not already like developed or grown fully. Um, like people, we're in such a rush to like change the future or like to make a difference in the world. We're in such a rush to do that, but we don't notice that while we are on that path, we are already like making a difference through the small things that we do. You know what I'm saying? I learned about mental health. Now, even in the streets right now, when I see someone not going through a bad day, I can tell them of my story. I can tell them that, yo, like a year ago, I was suicidal. I was not feeling well. So that means if I'm here and now I've got an internship and now you're looking at me like, oh, everything in her life is great. It's not actually like that. Literally everything is just for personal growth. And it's just, yeah,
And we can all agree that this experience adds to your story.
exactly. Exactly. You see now on a podcast with everything.
Well, thank you so much, Tamia, for sharing your story. And I hope now people won't be scared to take gap years as how they used to.
Yes, absolutely. Do not be scared. Remember, we're not in a race. Like, we are not racing anybody. You are competing with yourself, and you must wake up every day. And now that I've also learned to do this, actually, you should also do it. But wake up every morning and applaud yourself for things that some people do not applaud you for. Even if it's you know your weaknesses, you know you are usually waking up late, or you're very lazy, or you procrastinate much often. And if there's a day where you actually do things on time, like, applaud yourself for that, because it's hard. Like, it's really hard. Like, everything is hard. Sometimes it's hard to get up um from your bed. Applaud yourself for that, for doing that. So yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, United.